show. Joining me on Off the Record today is Narayani Ganesh, daughter of the legendary actor, late Gemini Ganesan, and author of this book, Eternal Romantic, My Father, Gemini Ganesan. It's a very, very tender and loving tribute to her father. It's not a biography, and she is here for the launch of the book. Narayani is a senior editor with the Times of India in Delhi. Thank you so much for joining us, Narayani.
Thank you for having me on your show.
I thought the launch was a very intimate and a very, very special event because I half expected the entire movie world crowd to be there. But it was more friends of the family and people who knew your father in a more intimate, in a family sort of way. So that was a surprise.
Yes, the publisher, Rory Books, Mr. Kapoor said that we'll just have a select audience, and he said we know who to invite from our side, but if you know a few people who knew your father, and if there are some of them who figure in the book, that would be good. So that's how we just called very few people, and we're very happy that it turned out quite well.
What really surprises me is that how your father managed to draw a line and kept the girls away from the film world. I mean, except for Gigi, who acted in a film, all of you have your own careers, your own professions, and none of you are in the film world in a big way.
There was no line actually. No one drew any line. It's just that we were a family of women. My father was the only male member in the family. We have 4 sisters and my mom and my 2 grandmothers. So basically, I think we were very content with our own activities, and we all had our own interests. My father used to read a lot, and our house was full of books, and we had friends from school and college, and hardly any of them were connected to the film industry. So it wasn't a deliberate choice as such to stay away from the film industry or anything. It's just that we weren't exposed to people from the film industry because, as you know, this was several decades ago when there wasn't much socializing in parties, etc., amongst the film, in the the film fraternity. Perhaps there was in Hindi films, but not so much in Tamil films. And my father's friends also came from different fields, like for instance academics, medicine, writers, and people like that. So those kind of people used to come home and we interacted with them, and therefore like we would go for music performances, the music season at Music Academy, and we had a lot of pets, and I think we lived in a world of our own. So there wasn't any line as such. It just so happened that we had our own interests, and didn't really strike any of us that we ought to in some way be associated with the film industry. But on the other hand, yes, maybe there was an invisible line because our family came from an orthodox background. We, like my mother, my grandmothers, weren't really clued into what was happening in the film industry. And perhaps there was an unwritten kind of a code where one didn't really, get into that line really. So
I really enjoyed reading the book, and my mother too. It is truly a tender tribute to your father. It couldn't have been easy, dredging up all those memories and reliving all those times. Though Kushwant Singh ji said that it will only take you a few weeks to write the book, it must have taken you much longer because...
Actually, Kushwant Singh said it will take you just a week. Because I used to speak spontaneously with him, and he found my stories to be rather interesting, and so he said, all you have to do is, my dear, just put it down. It shouldn't take you more than a week. But it's not as simple as that, and sometimes you need to do some cross-referencing and get the dates right and the names right. And because I hold a full-time job, and it also requires a lot of reading and writing, I really didn't find the time to dedicate exclusively to writing this book, and which is why I say in the acknowledgements that I have no hesitation in passing the buck to the Times of India for leaving me with very little energy and time to finish this. So this went on for a couple of years, and then I decided, oh my God, this is never going to get done. So I just took a few days leave, and I just sat from dawn to dusk and bashed it out, as they say, and then went about cross-checking points and stuff like that. So
Did you consult with your sisters? You have so many sisters.
yes, I know. I consulted with them wherever I felt I needed to, because not too much, because then what happens is the freshness that you have, the memories you have from the way you saw things. If you talk too much to other people, then it gets colored by what they say. So I just wanted it to come from my perspective, and then of course bolster it with what other people were saying, so that I don't make a mistake. But I just wrote it spontaneously from what I remembered and what my grandmas told me, what I observed in my family, and what of course over the years my sisters and I keep talking about. But then when you rely too much on what others say, then it becomes like Chinese whispers, then things get added or subtracted.
And I also think it's a treasure trove of really beautiful photographs. Really, it must have been very hard for you to decide what goes in and what stays out, because
I was saved that trouble, because all the photographs were selected by the publisher. All I had to do was to give the captions. So in fact, even the cover, which has indeed turned out to be a very attractive cover, when the publisher told me that he's selected a photograph of my father holding a cigarette, I was aghast. I said, oh no, he never smoked. I mean, that's one of the vices he never had. And I said, I write editorials on, the harmful effects of smoking, and there's a global movement against smoking. So I said, please don't show him with a cigarette. He says, you don't understand, it's just a clip from a film. I said,
and it's
no.
unlit anyway, the cigarette
That's
is
right.
unlit.
And I said, though, can you just remove it? He says, then the whole charm goes, it doesn't look good. And then I couldn't remember it actually. So when I asked him to show me the picture, and then when I saw it, I said, wow, this is indeed a very attractive photograph.
And it's very characteristic
Yes,
of
I
him.
know,
He was
I
such
know.
a charismatic
Very
man.
debonair and stylish. So I said, okay, please do go ahead.
He is, he said that his oxygen is not cinema but life, right? That's what he said, yeah. So would you like to read, so I love your style, it's very chatty and very effervescent. Would you like to read one of your favorite passages? It's very anecdotal, the book.
I'd love to do that. Actually, while writing the book, I kind of relived those memories, and I really did enjoy a lot of it. If you'd like me to read a little para about in his childhood, how he and his cousin Periyasamy would go to those makeshift tents where they would screen films, silent films, and I'll just read it so that you can. Growing up in Pudukkottai, Appa would frequent Chinnamma's place at Tirumala Samundram. Chinnamma was his his aunt, a neighbouring village, and also make trips to Dr. Muthulakshmi Reddy's home in Madras. Appa had a cousin Periyasamy who lived next door to him in Pudukkottai. They were close friends and shared a deep passion for cinema. The place where films were projected on the silver screen had 3 categories of seats: floor, bench and chair. Of course, floor seating was the cheapest, and the boys were regulars every week, particularly to watch Hollywood action movies. Appa would say that during dramatic scenes, a live band positioned at the rear of the hall would begin playing, accentuating the suspense, fights, horror or whatever it was that warranted more drama. So I thought that was pretty interesting, because we grew up at a time when, there was plenty of background music, and so that was interesting.
Yeah, the book is full of really nice passages. So let's take a short break, and when we come back, Narayani will tell us more about how she went about writing the book, really, because it's not easy to write a memoir of sorts, because you have to go back, you have to relive those times. It can be emotionally quite draining in a sense, So let's take a short break. We'll come back, and I'm in conversation with Narayani Ganesh, author of The Eternal Romantic.